Good afternoon and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus. I am your host, Daily Corvid, and today I want to speak to you about something extremely memeable. Extremely niche, but extremely memeable. Left versus right politics. Let's get it on. Now, I have it on quite good authority that the guy who wrote that song, Jerry Lafferty, was actually talking about something else completely. Wasn't even talking about politics. But wouldn't you just know? Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you, is exactly how we feel about politics in the modern day. And in that way, he was kind of a prophet. He predicted the future. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Left versus right politics in terms of practical use. How is this going to affect you and make your life better for having known it? Well, let's find out. So first what we need to do is figure out what is left wing and right wing and why do we care. So let's get the formalities out the way. If you ask ChatGPT, Grok or your closest and nearest Redditor nerd, they're going to tell you this. Left and right wing is wings of a house shaped like a cross, in which the top portion of the cross is held by the Speaker of the House, holding a scepter to say he has the authority to mediate the conversation, but he should be neutral. Then in the lower portion you have the kind of press guys, and they can ask a few questions, but generally they keep their gob shut. And then on the left and the right wings of the house, that's shaped like a cross, you have the workers, generally uneducated, quite close to being on the poverty line, small business owners maybe, with families on the left. Then on the right you have the lords and the ladies, and the dukes and the kings. Very, very highly educated, and people who generally are at the top of the field they're in, whether they deserve to be or not doesn't matter. They have the money behind them, the education behind them, and they have the establishment behind them. Okay, so that's what we are led to believe that left versus right is. Left is the proletariat, the workers, the good, moral, honest people, salt the earth. They do all the work. Those tyrants on the right, they're just a bunch of stuck-up rich inbreeders. What do they know? They don't do anything useful. They're basically robbing us. That's how we, in our ignorance, think of left and right politics. And you can see that in the way that the supplicants of these parties behave. Those on the left always want to take the moral high ground, ashamed of absolutely nothing that they say or do. In fact, all their shame is reserved for their opponents on the right. You will never catch them admitting to their own faults. So, yeah, I suppose they are a little bit like the proletariat, which is a communist ideal, by the way. The proletariat means like poor people, everyone, the 99%. And then you have the bourgeois, the rich and the famous, the lords on the right, and they're the 1%. So we're told these two hate each other, and the whole point in left versus right is eventually one of them will lose, and they will die. And then we'll just have a unified left government or a unified right government, because that's worked out so flipping well in the past. That is what we're told. However, that is not accurate. The first bit is accurate about how the Westminster system had a house of four, sticky bits like a cross shape. Speaker, press box, left and right. That's true. But all the rest of it is liberal propaganda. So let's go through that. Left versus right, to begin with, is propaganda. Left are not against right. Wings have to beat together. Or guess what? Your bird fucking doesn't fly. So left and right wings should be unified, even in their discussions, their debates. And think about it. If you're a left wing, what do you want? You want socialised everything. You want to never have to work a day in your life. But you also want that for everyone in your family. But they're not all going to be like you, are they? I mean, you've got diversity, then none of them are going to be like you. They're all going to be unique little snowflakes with their own politics and gender and whatever else. So realistically, if there is a war between the left and the right of politics, and the goal of that war is to basically wipe out the other half, then what you've got there is not politics in a democracy. What you've got there is slavery by a different name, socialism, which I can tell you we do not want. So breaking it down even further, why do the left and the right think they have to hate each other? Do they have opposite ideals? No, not really. Do they even have opposite goals? Hell no. Their goals are extremely similar on paper. So it's all brainwashing. And the way that this brainwashing is propagated, this is the psychology bit, if you're interested, is because they know people on the left, generally going to be younger, less well-travelled, not experienced people, and don't have their own home or income. They're going to be children or teenagers or students mostly, or pensioners who don't know any better. They are motivated by what they say is sadness. That's what the left think. The left think their only motivation is they're trying to cure the world of this plague of sadness caused by those demons on the right. That's what they think. But it's actually not quite like that, is it? Think about it. If you're on the left and you say, oh, Palestine, I'm so sad about Palestine being destroyed by those evil Jews. We should go over there and sort those evil Jews out so Palestine can be free. Globalise the Intifada. All this stuff. None of them have ever been there. Never even met a Palestinian. They have no idea what they're chanting. They have no idea the kind of depraved degenerates over there that they're supporting. And the reason is because they don't have to. They are validating their own laundered sadness. We're so sad about Palestine, so we're going to wave placards. They're only doing this to disguise the fact that they're actually angry, right? And the way they're going to get round their anger is they're going to beat someone up. That's literally how they work. Even though they say the complete opposite, and that's the gaslighting they apply to the right, who we will get to. In a nutshell, left-leaning politics means you are very, very sad about inequality and oppression, and that means you have to wave placards and demand that other people give their money and time away to your cause, but you don't have to. And if anyone has the slightest criticism of you, racist, homophobe, Islamophobe, chauvinist, misogynist, all that stuff. Right, so it's gaslighting. So the left is motivated by anger, really, and they just launder it away with fake sadness. So then, consider the right. The right are almost the exact opposite of that. The right-wing people are generally middle-aged to sort of retirement-age people with money in their own house or car, some ingoings and some costs. They usually have a family to support, conservative values. And their main motivation in politics is not actually anger. It is actually sadness or regret. See, the people on the right, and this is actually what happened in British history, English parliamentary history, the people on the right looked at the people on the left, and then they looked at each other, and they said, these guys need more help from us, because they're clearly not doing very well. Listen to their rambling, nonsensical, pseudo-intellectual tripe that they're trotting out as politics. And look at them all pretending to be so sad, when actually we can see they're really angry. Look at them pretending to solve a problem with violence, and then saying that the problem is the violence, and they're just defending themselves. We need to give them more help. And that's when the right got together and said, right, we're going to help out the guys on the left by socialising healthcare for those who can't afford doctors. And since we're making them fit for work, we may as well give them a benefit system and try to help them into work. Thus, the socialism background of our capitalist democracy was born, the safety net. Right-wing politicians made that happen. Married couples with children from this country, not immigrants, white, British, married people with children built that system. They didn't build it because they were angry. They built it because they were regretful that the people had not quite reached that plateau that the lords and the ladies on the right had reached. So the initial drive for true equality in politics did come from the right. And let's not forget, Hitler, the most evil man of all time, and the Nazi marching armies across Europe nearly laid waste to the world, were left-wing. Right? So we know the left is motivated by fake sadness, which underneath is actually anger. We can see this in the way they behave, the way they protest, the things they say against their right-wing opponents. And even in history, we know many of the most prolific murdering assholes ever to run a country were on the left, including Hitler. So there you go, that's left versus right. The left are famous for not knowing what's in front of their nose, only caring about their current day problems, me, but rather than have to admit this to themselves in the mirror and feel like shamelessly selfish people, they cover it with this false sadness. Oh, we're only doing this for other people, other countries, and diverse peoples, and gay people, and trans people, and black people, and orange people, and purple-haired people, and ring-through-the-nose people. We just want the best for them. That's why we're so sad, and that's why we're angry, and we're going to fucking destroy the country. And if you don't like it, we're going to call you a Nazi. That's the left. The right were the guys that looked across and said, wow, we've really failed those lot. Listen to the nonsense they talk. Look at the way they behave. If only we could elevate them a bit higher so they could get educated, so they could be ambitious, so they could know how to behave in a nice Christian culture. Well, let's help them out with some money and some free doctors, and we'll try and get them a job. That's left versus right. So that is how we arrived here today, where the left is still whoring it for every other cause just to get itself on the map, and the right is constantly feeling the need to clean up behind them. Only the difference is now, the right wing have been so vilified over the last 20, 30 years. You know, we've become the beating post for the world's problems. The world put its responsibility around our necks, and then used it to tighten the noose. And it's got us nowhere. I mean, look at the state of this country. Family values like a thing of the past. No one gets married and has kids anymore. People don't even know what flipping gender they are. They're not going to procreate under those conditions. Then you've got foreign interference and foreign wars that we like to get ourselves involved in. So, I don't even need to tell you. Ukraine, bang, we got involved. Iran, bang, we got involved. Palestine, bang, we got involved. And we were involved from the start anyway. All of these things should be solved. Not by us, because it's not our flipping job to solve it, but by the people in those countries. Now, people on the right wing are smart enough to know if two parties are at war, having a civil war over a piece of land, i.e. the Muslims and the Persians, Iranians, trying to kick out the Muslims, there is a good and a bad side in that fight. We know that. And we might even choose to support the good side, or if we're really stupid, the bad side. But what we will not do, us people on the right, is we will not invite two warring fucking tribes from another country with zero culture, who hates Christianity and British and white people. We will never accept those two people getting a fucking free ticket to come here and have their battle fought out in the streets of London with police protection while we pay for it. Meanwhile, our veterans are starving and freezing in the street, and our birth rates and education for our children has plummeted. So we know the left and the right are agreed. These are all the same problems. But how the left go about solving it is by brainwashing all the students to be ridiculous TikTok activists and die unmarried with 0 children and 50 cats. Or go plaguing around the world, stoking up hate for their enemies back home. It's no way to live. That's the reason why this country's screwed. So, the summary is, if we're going to end this ridiculous, tyrannical cycle of nonsensical, pseudo-intellectual shite that the left is trotting out and all the students are buying into, we're going to need to develop courage to say what is actually very hard to hear, but true things like I'm doing now. And when we have that conversation, we need to have a thick skin, because those goons on the left are obviously going to say racist, sexist, homophobe, chauvinist, misogynist, Islamophobe, all this ridiculous stuff. And it's going to take focus away from what is the problem? How are we solving it now that's failing? Get rid of that. Let's try again and get a solution that works. And then we will have real left versus right unity like we should be having, rather than the left wanting to completely wipe out the right, declare a victory, i.e. have a revolution, which nobody bloody wants. Instead of doing that, let's have the discussions out in the open, no holds barred, free speech engaged, like this country always did, successfully I may add, and see if we can't nip this in the bud. So, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. God bless you all. And I'll see you lovely people in the next video. Bye now. Bye-bye.